I don't know if the 6'2" and under guard
Yes.
is at a premium no more as a starter.
I would love to see Bronny in college instead of going the other route.
Yeah,
Ignite.
disappearing for years.
Yeah, disappearing basically.
The NBA is never short on headlines, but this story has grabbed attention because it's shining a spotlight on two different generations at once. Bronny James is trying to begin his own career while carrying the expectations that come with being LeBron James' son, all while playing for the Los Angeles Lakers, a team that's constantly under the microscope. Right as the conversation around Bronny became intense again, Kevin Durant shared a cryptic post that immediately got everyone talking because the timing didn't seem like a coincidence. Whenever KD puts out a vague message, fans almost always search for a deeper meaning instead of assuming it's just another random thought. As the post spread across social media, the reactions came flooding in. Some people felt Durant was showing support for Bronny, others believed he was taking a subtle shot at the Lakers organization, and a few even wondered if LeBron himself was the real subject. That's always been part of Durant's style. He rarely tells people exactly what he means, which leaves everyone else to interpret his words and create their own narratives. The discussion only grew louder as Bronny continued facing another wave of criticism during off-season debates and non-stop sports coverage. Every performance he has is examined from every possible angle, almost as if he's already expected to play like an established star. A single rough game turns into national news, and one missed shot is treated by some as proof that he doesn't belong in the NBA. The truth is, very few rookies deal with this kind of constant attention. Bronny is still in the early stages of his development, yet people seem eager to judge his entire future after every appearance. The Lakers understood the spotlight would come with drafting him, and the NBA knew expectations would rise after LeBron publicly spoke about wanting to share the court with his son. But recognizing that pressure is coming and actually living through it are two completely different experiences.
And so for him to have all of this scrutiny and be in the spotlight and be LeBron's son, it's mental toughness for him to go out there and not only perform, but to perform well.
Kevin Durant never directly announced he was joining the discussion, but one mysterious post was enough to put him right in the middle of it. That alone grabbed everyone's attention because fans immediately connected his message to the renewed criticism surrounding Bronny James. Even without mentioning Bronny by name, the timing had people convinced there was more behind the post. It also reminded many of Durant's own experience after entering the NBA as a teenager with enormous expectations on his shoulders. From Oklahoma City to Golden State, then Brooklyn and Phoenix, KD has dealt with years of intense scrutiny and understands how quickly public opinion can shape a player's reputation. Once the media builds a certain narrative around you, every mistake tends to get folded into that same story. That's why the conversation quickly grew beyond Bronny himself. A lot of fans began wondering if Durant was really highlighting the unhealthy side of today's NBA culture. Bronny isn't being judged the way most rookies are. Instead, he's become a symbol in a much larger conversation. Some people seem determined to watch him struggle because they're tired of seeing LeBron James dominate the spotlight, while others defend Bronny at every turn because of their support for LeBron. Caught between those two sides, Bronny is simply trying to create his own identity as the internet turns every performance into another debate about pressure, legacy, and family connections. For Kevin Durant, this is a pattern he's watched repeat itself throughout his NBA career.
I think he could use another year of college and see where he at.
Yeah. That father-son legacy in the NBA,
Crazy.
man.
What often gets overlooked is that Bronny James isn't just dealing with basketball expectations. He's also carrying the mental weight that comes from being under constant public attention before he even steps on the floor. Most rookies have time to learn through mistakes, without every rough performance becoming a national talking point. But Bronny hasn't been given that kind of space. That's a situation Kevin Durant knows all too well. For years, KD has remained one of the NBA's biggest stars, while also being one of its most heavily criticized, despite producing elite numbers and building one of the defining careers of his generation. He was labeled soft after joining Golden State, and his leadership became a recurring topic no matter what he achieved. Still, Durant continued to score, compete, and move forward through all of it. That's why so many fans felt his cryptic post carried a deeper meaning than it seemed at first glance. The spotlight becomes even brighter because this is the Los Angeles Lakers, where just 2 disappointing games can suddenly feel like a major crisis. Once you add LeBron James and Bronny to that environment, emotions naturally begin to drive the conversation. Instead of focusing only on basketball, the debate quickly shifts toward legacy, expectations, and family connections. Some critics believe Bronny's opportunity came because of his father's influence, while others point to the years he spent developing his game and earning the chance to compete, despite facing attention that almost no young player has to handle. No matter which side people take, there's broad agreement that Bronny is dealing with a level of scrutiny most second-round picks never experience. Because of that, Durant never had to explain every detail of his message, as many fans believed they already understood what he was trying to say.
He was going to be a Laker no matter what. This was more about he wants his name called. His fucking father is the face of the team. He was going to be on that team, like it or not.
Whether Kevin Durant was actually talking about Bronny James or not, his post reignited a much bigger discussion about how quickly NBA culture rushes to judge players. These days, one game can completely change the public conversation overnight. Part of the reason KD's words draw so much attention is because of his long and complicated relationship with public opinion. He's never tried to present himself as the perfectly polished superstar. Instead, he engages with fans online, responds to criticism directly, and while that often creates more headlines, it also makes him seem more open than many other NBA stars. Because Durant has spent years dealing with constant criticism, many fans naturally connected his cryptic message to the media storm surrounding Bronny. To them, it didn't feel like a random post, but more like a veteran recognizing another player facing an incredibly difficult situation. That's where young players can run into problems. Rather than giving themselves time to grow, they begin feeling pressure to answer every critic immediately. That can lead to forcing tough shots, rushing decisions, and second-guessing the instincts that help them reach the NBA in the first place. Basketball history is filled with talented players who struggled under overwhelming expectations, and the spotlight on Bronny is almost unheard of for a second-round pick. Most players selected in the second round develop quietly, but Bronny becomes a trending topic across social media after preseason games, with every performance examined from every possible angle. That's a completely different environment than most young players experience. LeBron James likely understood that Bronny joining the Los Angeles Lakers would bring enormous attention. After spending decades under the brightest spotlight in sports, few athletes understand media coverage better than LeBron. He probably expected nearly every moment involving Bronny to become a headline, but many people still believe the reaction has been even more intense than anticipated. Some fans openly root against Bronny because they believe it reflects on LeBron's legacy, while others continue supporting him because they want to see him succeed on his own. That split shows just how personal basketball discussions have become, even when the focus is supposed to stay on the game itself. As people continued analyzing Durant's post, another interpretation started gaining attention. Some believed he wasn't speaking only about Bronny, but was also reflecting on everything he has experienced throughout his own career. If there's one NBA superstar who understands what it's like to be constantly misunderstood, many fans would point to Kevin Durant. No matter how impressive his resume becomes, another debate always seems to follow him online. When he won championships with Golden State, some critics argued those titles deserved less credit. And even as he continues performing at an elite level later in his career, others still expect more. Living with that level of constant scrutiny can affect any athlete over time. At the same time, the Lakers' situation brought renewed attention to the debate over family connections in sports, with critics arguing that Bronny's last name created opportunities many other players may never receive. Supporters were quick to point out that family ties have always existed in professional sports, but earning a long NBA career still comes down to talent, work ethic, and production on the court. Both viewpoints continue to shape the conversation because while a recognizable last name might help create an opportunity, staying in the league is something every player has to earn. That's exactly what Bronny James still has the chance to show, although the environment around him makes that challenge even tougher. Once the media finds a storyline that captures attention, it tends to stay in the spotlight for as long as possible. Debate shows aren't always designed to present balance, they're designed to keep people watching. Mention Bronny James, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James in the same discussion, and the story instantly grows beyond basketball. Another reason KD's post became such a talking point is that almost everyone walked away with a different interpretation. Interestingly, many former NBA players viewed the situation differently than fans on social media. Retired players often showed more understanding towards Bronny because they've experienced firsthand how difficult it is to develop under constant pressure. They know confidence can disappear quickly when every mistake is magnified, and they also understand that young players need time before reaching their full potential. The problem is that online culture rarely rewards patience anymore. Too often, fans expect immediate results, and if a rookie struggles early, some people are ready to define that player's future before real development has even had a chance to happen. Durant's own journey is a big reason why so many people paid close attention to his message. Despite being one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, public opinion about KD can still swing dramatically from one week to the next. That's why many fans believed his post carried a deeper message than simple encouragement. To them, it sounded like a veteran reminding a younger player not to let unrealistic expectations destroy his confidence. The reality is that Bronny may never be able to satisfy everyone, regardless of how he performs. That also explains why this story spread so quickly. The Los Angeles Lakers generate headlines unlike almost any other franchise, and everything feels bigger once it happens in Los Angeles. Even if Bronny had entered the league with another team, being LeBron's son would have guaranteed major attention, but putting on a Lakers jersey takes that spotlight to an entirely different level. Practice clips go viral, interviews are dissected, and even routine reactions from the bench become topics of discussion. Kevin Durant understands how exhausting that non-stop attention can be because he spent years living through it himself. As the debate continued, fans even revisited older chapters of KD's career, including the burner account story and his online interactions with fans. Ironically, those moments may have made KD even more relatable to some younger players today. One thing that's always separated Kevin Durant is that he's never pretended criticism doesn't affect him. He's never tried to convince people everything is perfect, and in today's sports world, that kind of honesty is becoming increasingly rare. Bronny James' situation also highlights a much bigger issue with the way modern basketball is discussed.
Player development often gets pushed aside because social media rewards the loudest opinions instead of the most balanced ones. Telling people a rookie simply needs time usually doesn't go viral, but calling that same player overrated or already a failure spreads much faster. That's how the conversation can spiral so quickly. One difficult game suddenly becomes evidence that a career is falling apart, while one great highlight is treated as proof that a player has already become a superstar. The discussion keeps bouncing between extremes, leaving very little room for patience or perspective. At the same time, many people point out that Bronny knew this path would come with enormous attention. Joining the Los Angeles Lakers and having the opportunity to play alongside LeBron James was always going to make headlines. LeBron openly embraced that possibility because it would be a historic moment for both their family and the NBA. With that level of attention, criticism was always going to be part of the experience. The important thing to remember is that Bronny is still a young player with plenty of time to develop. Durant's involvement made the story even bigger because he and LeBron have shared nearly 2 decades of NBA history. They've faced each other on the league's biggest stages, represented Team USA together, and been compared throughout their careers. That's why a single cryptic post from KD was enough to send the basketball world into another major debate. Anytime Durant makes even an indirect comment connected to LeBron's family, fans immediately begin searching for a deeper meaning, and that's exactly what happened here. What made the story so compelling was how divided the reactions became over what KD actually meant. Some people praised him for what they saw as support for a young player dealing with non-stop criticism, while others believed he was simply becoming part of another Lakers headline. Because Durant never explained the message, everyone was left to reach their own conclusion. Whatever his real intention was, one thing is undeniable. The conversation exploded because people couldn't stop talking about it. That's the influence of a cryptic message in today's sports landscape. Sometimes what goes unsaid creates far more discussion than a direct statement ever could. Meanwhile, Bronny remained relatively quiet through all the attention, and that may ultimately be the smartest response. Many young players feel pressure to answer every criticism, every headline, and every social media post, but that can easily become a distraction. Durant has lived through that kind of scrutiny for years and understands how quickly public opinion can shift. In the end, Bronny's strongest response won't come from something he posts online. Ultimately, Bronny James will answer the noise the same way every player does, with what he accomplishes on the court over time. Looking at the bigger picture, it's easy to see why this story became so significant. LeBron James is pursuing one of the most remarkable family milestones in NBA history by sharing the league with his son. Kevin Durant, despite putting together one of the greatest resumes the game has ever seen, is still trying to earn full respect from some fans. At the same time, Bronny is working to build an identity that's defined by more than just the James name. Those three storylines came together, and that's what made this moment impossible for the basketball world to ignore. Years from now, this debate could look completely different. If Bronny grows into a successful NBA player, many people will likely say the criticism arrived far too early. If he falls short, others will argue they saw it coming from the beginning. That's often how sports history is remembered. Time has a way of changing how every story is viewed. Maybe that's why Kevin Durant's cryptic message created so much discussion, whether it was really about Bronny, about Durant's own experiences, or simply about the way NBA conversations unfold today. More than anything, it reminded everyone how quickly the spotlight can shift away from the actual game. Young players can become symbols long before they've had a real chance to establish themselves in the league. One thing does seem clear: the NBA world isn't ready to move on from this story anytime soon. As Bronny's career continues, every game, every performance, and every headline will become another part of this ongoing conversation. Only time will determine how this chapter is ultimately remembered. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your